Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of your franchise mode commentary with your San Francisco Giants. Couple days post celebration, hanging the banner back up in San Francisco after winning the World Series this year. Couple years behind where we originally thought, but still in the window at the tail end of that window. As we kind of said, 2025, 2026 was when we would be in the playoffs and kind of open up a 3-year window for us to win a World Series. And we do. We accomplish our goal to get a World Series in that window. Now we've opened up kind of a 2-year chance here to get another one with some of the key members on this team, like a Corbin Burns, like a Logan Webb, and a bunch of other guys on 3-year deals here as well. So you can kind of see how the contracts are stacking up and who's a part of this core and this team in the future before we're going to move on and need to, the league will look a lot different 3-4 years from now when a lot of these deals are up. So that brings us to free agency and a chance to add, a chance to build on what we have on this roster and to continue to put ourselves in the position to be a championship caliber team. You can see there on the main screen losing key members like Mountcastle, Gavin Lux, Chapman, Luciano, Kerchek. They're all hitting free agency. They all were key members of our World Series run and this team over the past few years. But it's time to move on, and it's time to bring in some other pieces that we think will be an addition to our roster here. So give you an idea of what our roster looks like before we get into who we've paid or who we at least made offers to. So starting pitching, we actually have a plethora of, and we're going to be using a lot of these guys out of the bullpen, I think, this year. But you can see who is going to be, leading the way for us in terms of starting pitching. So George Kirby, Logan Webb, we know are going to be in the rotation. Corbin Burns is starting to fall off, but he was so dominant in the postseason and is still putting up great numbers despite kind of falling off and overall and getting up there in age. But he'll still be in the starting rotation. Wissenheim had a great year, so he deserves a rotation spot as well. And then the fifth spot's kind of up in the air between Eldridge, Fletcher, and Kyle Harrison. I know we gave him the extension last year that's starting to kick in at 12.4, but he had a rough year last year, but was still very effective out of the bullpen for us in the postseason. So maybe that's where he finds his role this year. I don't know. Dustin Fletcher, another guy who came up during the year last year with some of their injuries. He had pitched well. His numbers at the end of the year kind of fall in line with a lot of the starting pitchers that get called up in their first year. I remember Eldridge was similar. Harrison had similar numbers in their first couple of years there. So nothing alarming, but he still is good enough, I think, to make the major league roster to start the year. So we'll have a couple of these guys in the bullpen and really figure out who are our starting pitchers throughout the year. It's always nice to have that depth and to trade from. Out of the bullpen, Merced's going to get the chance again to start in the bullpen this year. I think that low hits category kind of holds him back a little, but we'll see if he can rewrite his numbers. And then, of course, Ferguson will be here. Mitch Bratt has some depth along with Davovich, Miller, and Rupp. And then we re-signed Duvall as our closer, so that helps shore up things on the back end. Marshall Jones will be pushing for a major league spot this year as he's starting to come into his own. Catching is staying the same. I think this is the year we trade Blake Sable. He's coming off a down year after a really great year and continuing to show that he could be a major league catcher. But he's got 1 year left of arbitration, so 2 years of control here for whatever team we trade him to. Logan Porter has spent his last couple of years in AAA. I know he's a little bit older, but he's a lot more controllable, a little more well-rounded of a hitter, right-handed bat versus a left-handed bat off the bench, and can play a versatile position. So it's mainly a money thing at this point and just controllability between Sable and Porter. So I think this might be the year we do trade Blake Sable. First base, we're keeping Michael Busch. I don't think he's ready to hold a major league roster everyday first baseman. He's strong defensively and strong versus righties, but we're in a championship window. Maybe if this was a couple years ago, we'd play him to continue to get him to grow versus lefties, but he's going to be more of a bench back Richard Jew here as well could make a potential spot to join the major league roster this year or just marinate in AAA for another year. Von Burke is going to spend the first half of the season, or at least start the year in AAA. I don't think he's quite ready for a second baseman spot, but he looks to be the Gavin Lux replacement of the future there. Royce Lewis here at third base, who we picked up last offseason to basically fill in for Matt Chapman. Going to take over there at third. Casey Schmidt can be the depth infielder for us, can play any position and play it well. Brooks Lee is either going to be our starting second baseman or our starting shortstop. Quality defender at every infield position. He's been a bench infielder for us the past couple of years. It's definitely time we see what he's made of and give him a major league everyday role in the middle of that infield. So that'll shore things up there. In the outfield is pretty much set as well. Eloy Jimenez, incredible postseason hero for us, carried us to the World Series, had great regular season numbers. He's one of the more complete hitters in the game, but a little bit more of a DH than an outfielder, especially at this point in his career. So he will be our DH full-time. Langford will get the spot back in left field. Remember, he broke his shin, which actually made us go and trade for Eloy Jimenez, who got the start throughout the playoffs, and Wyatt Langford was on the bench. But Langford will get back out there in left field. Quan will be there in center field, and Matos in right field. So the outfield's remaining pretty much the same. We have Vaughn Brown, Grant McCray, Christian Vaquero here on their way to the major league teams, or some bench outfield bats for us. So outfield, we don't need any help. Starting pitching, we don't need any help. It's really that first base, middle infield spot, as well as shoring up the bullpen. And that's exactly what we did here in free agency. A lot of big names available, especially at the shortstop position and in the outfield and starting pitching. So it's going to be really interesting to see where these guys end up and which teams really bolster their roster. But for us and who we're going after here, Elly De La Cruz. Looking at the shortstops and who's kind of available between third, short, and second, and kind of the money where it's associated, we wanted to go after a difference maker here with our championship window. Mason Wynn was a big guy to go after. Marcelo Meyer here as well. We could always bring back Luciano. You saw Junior Caminero there at third base. Could slide Royce Lewis over to second or shortstop even. Andres Jimenez could have brought back Gavin Lux. Lots of different options for us. But ultimately, we decided on Elly De La Cruz mainly for three things. He's 27 years old, so he's just entering his prime. Can play a multitude of positions. So we really like that versatility. He's a lockdown defender and elite speed, something that we don't really have at the top of our lineup. We have good speed throughout our lineup for the most part, but we don't have that elite level stolen base speed that can be a difference maker for our team. And he's a switch hitter, right? So we really like that. We know he struggles a little bit more versus lefties, but we can counter that with our lineup and how deep it is. And he gives you some pop out of that shortstop position. So we really like Elly De La Cruz to fit in well here in San Francisco, and we decided to give him a long-term deal there. 7 years, $216 million. He's worth it on the open market, and we hope that entices him to sign with us and sign early. Couple of the other players that we're bringing in here. We went after Kurchak to bring him back as our setup man. He had an incredible year last year. Really, the past couple of years, he's been solid in San Francisco and has pitched well in the playoffs. So we'd like to bring him back on a 2-year deal. Gregory Soto is going to be the lefty that we're bringing in. Ferguson, kind of more of a strike thrower, limits the walks. So Gregory Soto here, on the other hand, more of a flame-throwing lefty and has had some pretty solid years there in Baltimore. So bringing him on a 1-year deal, some veteran leadership for some lefty bullpen help. And then first base, the other key position there that we looked at upgrading from. We saw Matt Olson was here, but he's been with the Braves for the majority of his career. Kind of made a name for himself there. 35 years old, too, with some of the numbers starting to recline. We don't really want that happening. Mountcastle was obviously a guy we thought about bringing back, as well as he's been here and putting up really good numbers in San Francisco. You remember his clutch game-tying home run in a must-win Game 6 and walk-off double, the Mountcastle game. He will certainly be missed on this team and this roster, but we needed a left-handed bat, honestly, at first base with how heavy our right-handed hitters are in the middle of our lineup. And Josh Naylor only wanted about $6 million a year, too, after having an incredible year last year in New York. He's a little bit younger than Mountcastle and Olsen as well, and plays a solid defensive first base there, can get on base with the best of them. So that's who we're targeting there at first base, and kind of rounds out our free agency acquisitions, or who we're trying to target there and really put together this team and see what we can turn it into. So we're not going to worry about trading Sable right now. That's something we can do later in this offseason, or maybe at the start of next year. But that's going to be how we start things off here and see where kind of the free agency market ends up. See if we grabbed anybody here early before I go ahead and take care of the 40-man. So we did grab Soto. Brooks Lee, I forgot to mention, we did invest in him. He is going to be starting every day this year, and his numbers have proven he can hit at the major league level. We know what he's capable of defensively. So giving him a 6x75 deal to kind of align with Elly De La Cruz, get ahead of what Brooks Lee would probably make on the open market. Locking him up and locking the middle of the infield up is what we decided to do there. We had the budget for it. It made sense all around. And then it looks like just a bunch of minor league contracts. Okay, Kerchak came back. That's big for us as well. And then Wissenhunt, you can see there, we gave him a 1-year deal instead of locking him up long-term, basically kind of a prove-it year. See if what he did last year was repeatable. And then Luis Matos here, we're giving a 3-year deal to, and he's entering the last year of his arbitration, so he would be a free agent next year. And he's been so dependable for us, even if he regresses a little or something like that. We like him on this team and could be a tradable contract. So let me go ahead and take care of these 40-man rosters, and we'll get back. All right, that should take care of the 40-man roster. We should be good to go to simulate the rest of this free agency here and see if we can grab any of those guys we went after. So Gavin Lux joins the Orioles. Just going to call out a couple of guys as they get signed here. Take a look at some of our offers on some of these big players and see if we've got any competition. So still the top offer on Cruz and Naylor. They're almost maxed out there for what they're looking for. And there it is. Elly De La Cruz joins the Giants. Welcome to San Francisco, Elly. We're excited to have you here and be a core part of this team moving forward, as we have a big trade between the Yankees and the Angels. Looks like the Yankees are grabbing Logan Gilbert. Looks like he must have signed a big contract a season or two ago. And they're giving up a strong pitching prospect there, and Mazzucato, it looks like, and Vargas there at shortstop. So looks like the Yankees made a good trade there. Looks like they're trying to enter a window to win. Let's take a look at your Giants and see if anybody else signed. Matos accepted his 3-year deal, so it's nice to have him on that contract window. And now that Elly De La Cruz is here as our shortstop, we can slide Brooks Lee over to an everyday second baseman role for us to complete our middle infield of the future. That's nice to see. All right, so Josh Naylor has declined and decided to go to the Royals on a 4-year deal. Yes, stop simulating. Okay. So a little bit of changes there for us at first base, losing out on Josh Naylor. Did not think that was going to happen. And Matt Olson's also off the board. So I know I said we wanted a left-handed bat in our lineup, and I still believe in that, but I'm not going to go after a lefty just to have a lefty per se. Take a quick look at the trade market. If not, we can always bring back Mountcastle, I think. Let's see what's available on the trading market, if anybody out there is really standing out. Vinny Pasquantino could be an interesting pickup for us, although he doesn't play that well defensively, which gives me some nerves. He's also dropping off considerably from where his numbers were, 31. I think that's something to keep an eye on as the season progresses. Is Vinny there? Let's take a quick look here across the league and see if anybody has a plethora of first basemen. Just skim through these teams real quick. Just looking for a couple of guys. See, yeah, the Royals signed Naylor even though they have Torkelson there. So one of them is going to be DHing, I presume. Okay, the Angels make sense why they would want to trade Vinny Pasquantino. They do want a catcher. Okay, so they got Joey Bart and not much outside of that. So maybe we make this work. Blake Sable straight up for Vinny Pasquantino. They like that. They actually like that a lot. I think that's a fair trade for both teams. It gives them a catcher that they desperately need. It gives us a first baseman, left-handed bat that we need. High OBP. Let's do it. Let's grab Vinny Pasquantino from the Angels for Blake Sable. Money's about the same of what we were giving Josh Naylor, especially losing that $2 million off the books. Let's do it. Welcome to San Francisco, Vinny Pasquantino. Thank you for your service here, Blake Sable. We hope you have a great time there in Los Angeles, not too far away to move. And that should sure up our roster now as the Athletics are coming at us with a trade. Okay, Gunnar Hoglund looks to be a strong pitching prospect here. Is 29 years old already, but I like Von Burke a lot in our depth in our team. So simulate through here. We know we're the last pick of the draft. Okay, some starting pitchers finally starting to come off the board here. So Yuri Perez goes to the Cubs. Jack Caligone goes to the Rays. I believe Paul Skeens might still be available. We'll hop into this Rule 5 draft. Kind of doubt we'll take anybody, but it never hurts to see who's available here. So if there are any kind of high 70s guys that kind of fit our roster, maybe some bench depth pitching in the bullpen. Yeah, no one really jumping off the page. Some good options for teams out there looking to fill up some of their roster pieces, but we're in a World Series window where we only want the best of the best playing and filling up our bench. And there's really nobody here who'd be worth adding to this team just to have from the Rule 5. So we can skip that. Skip our selection for this year. And that'll conclude the Rule 5 draft. Okay, so I believe we've signed everybody. Don't really need to make any more trades. Now we got rid of Sable. That'll allow Logan Porter to be our backup catcher now and just kind of take a peek at how this roster's shoring up. I think it's very strong, if not stronger than it was last year. Yeah, we should be pretty solid. We've got some stars across the board. We've really built through the middle of the field, it feels like. So, yeah, I think we can just simulate this and get to the end of this offseason, see if any other big names, some big relievers going other places. Mountcastle going to Houston. It makes sense. They had no first baseman there. Nathaniel Lowe traded to the Padres for Dylan Cease and a second baseman prospect there. Mason Wynn, the star shortstop, going to the Twins. Grayrod going to the Braves. Bryson Stott traded. He was on the Tigers. Okay, so he must have signed in free agency with Detroit. Traded to the Mets. They get off of Brandon Nimmo. Guardians want to give us an offer. They want Wyatt Langford for Jake Fox. Versatile prospect there at second base. And then another shortstop, Johnny Roca. Yeah, we'll probably decline this. Wyatt's kind of a key part of our lineup. Brock Burke, Sandoval. Okay, a couple of other guys get picked up. Paul Skeens hasn't jumped up yet, so I'm assuming he re-signed there in Pittsburgh. would make a lot of sense. We'll take a quick peek there. Evan Carter went to the A's. Take a quick look at Pittsburgh just to confirm that. For those wondering, yes, Paul Skeens re-signed with Pittsburgh. Not surprised to see that there. Looks like he may have gotten a max contract out of them. Okay, Jackson Merrill joins the Orioles to patrol that outfield. Jared Jones to the Rockies. James Wood to the Red Sox. Junior Caminero to the Cardinals. Cardinals picked up a couple guys here. Luciano joins the Fish. A lot of former Giants from this World Series team. PCA going to the Angels. Okay, lots of signings on this day, it looks like. All right, Red Sox and White Sox look to have been very active this year. And I forgot, the signing of Ellie De La Cruz to the Giants further cements kind of the rivalry that's brewing between the Reds and the Giants, you could say. We did trade them Jung-Hoo Lee last year. They were the 1 seed, got upset by the Cubs, and we ended up facing the Cubs there in the championship series, if I remember correctly. But yeah, we steal their shortstop that they've had for so long and been a part of their team to join us. So we'll see how that translates moving forward if we face off in the playoffs this upcoming year, assuming we'll both be in there. You never know what can happen between now and the start of October. Just trying to shore up some of the roster spots here. If we can just grab a couple of cheap contracts to fill in. Nope, you weren't one. Just looking for some 1-year deals. There we go. Got the catching. First base, we're fine. Could use a couple of shortstops, it looks like, and a second baseman as well. Well, you, Josh Hood. Perfect. Couple of shortstops here. Lucius Fox. Wonderful. How about a shortstop with some pop there? Lewis Clayton. And we should be fine there. I got plenty of guys in left and right that can play some center field, I'm sure. All right, that should take care of the roster for the minors. See if anybody else still needs to be signed. No, we are set. All right, we're going to take it to the start of the regular season for your banner year. So here we are, San Francisco, back with the start of 2029 season. Our home opener, the banner has been raised here in Oracle Park. Your Giants are taking the field for the first time as World Series champions against divisional rival, the Colorado Rockies, to start your home opener. Kwan drives one to Covey Cove, and it is gone. A hanging changeup by Max Meyer, and Kwan goes yard to give the Giants an early 1-0 lead here in front of the home crowd. And Eloy joins the club, goes back-to-back with Kwan to give the Giants a 2-0 lead, picking up right where he left off in the postseason last year, already his 4th of the year. Ellie drives one into Triple's alley. Easy stand-up triple after the leadoff single by Matos gives the Giants a 3-0 lead. Ground ball by Kwan. Quality AB to drive in the run there, making it 4-0. And Eloy has done it again. A hanging slider this time. His second home run of the game. It is now 5-0 San Francisco. And there it is. Your Giants win this one 6-0 against divisional rival Colorado Rockies. Off to a fantastic start and giving the fans a win with the championship banner going up. All right, wanted to start off the video with a little bit of gameplay. Our first home game after winning the World Series. Started on the road here this year against Colorado, and then against the two-game set with the Dodgers, then back home to face Colorado. There you saw the 6-0 win. Strong start by Kirby, some clutch homers. There, we're off to a 6-1 start here to start your 2029 season, your defending World Series championship season. And you can see there we actually do rank first overall among the teams in the league. We've kind of upgraded some positions over the past 2 years, three off seasons to really help bolster that. But we're still kind of built on that contact, pitching, and defense category. The power number has taken a huge jump with some of the development of players and some of the guys we brought in. So let's take a look at what this squad is looking like for 2029 season. So Logan Webb has moved into the number 1 overall spot. Corbin Burnes has been trending downwards as overall, but still getting it done at a high level. But Logan Webb, a little bit more consistent there, a little bit younger. He's going to be the ace of this team, followed up closely behind by George Kirby, who we gave the contract to last offseason. Had a big Game 7 start in the World Series for us, and then Corbin Burnes rounds out that top 3. Wisson had a great year last year. We see if he can follow it up with another one this year. And then Kyle Harrison, who we gave the extension to last year, stepping into that 5th spot. He is trending downwards, which is alarming for a 27-year-old who's supposed to be just hitting his prime. So that is a question mark, you could say, for our team, is what is going to be made out of this 4-5 spot in our rotation with Wisson, Hunt, and Harrison. We still have Dustin Fletcher, who pitched pretty well for us last year, and Bryce Eldridge, who's coming along. Doesn't have necessarily the true starter stamina that you would want, but his numbers are really good. He's only 24. I mean, he definitely deserves a spot in this major league team, and we can see throughout the course of the season if we want to slide him into the rotation. Bullpen looks fairly much the same as it did last year. We got Merced, we got Ferguson, we got Mitch Bratt up on the major league roster. Gregory Soto, our free agent acquisition there. Kerchak we brought back, and then Duvall still closing it down on the back end. In the system, Terrell Huffman is one of our starting pitching prospects who's certainly on his way up. The rest of these starters kind of in that C range, nothing really special. We'll see if any of them ever make the major league roster. Couple of relievers that we're still keeping an eye on, like David McDougal, Davovich, we're up or down here in the 30s now. Stanley Crane, lefty prospect, and then Marshall Jones as well, an up-and-coming closer, right-handed reliever for us in AAA. AA, we got a few other starting pitching prospects here in Cato, Fox, Fuentes, Hurst, Portillo. We have his brother who we just drafted in here as well, and then a couple of relievers in here in AA. So a lot of our pitching is a couple years away in terms of relievers and starters. A lot of it's already in the Major League ball club, the clubhouse there, aside from Terrell Huffman, would probably be the only guy making close to that. But he's very similar to Fletcher in that way, where his hits category is quite low for a starting pitcher. I mean, honestly, all of his categories are pretty low there. This is AA. Yes, so his hits category is pretty low, control low, velocity low. That doesn't always translate well to the major league level, so hopefully he can develop quite nicely this year and boost that hits up to make the major league roster next year. Offensively, we've had some big acquisitions this past offseason, and our lineup is as deep and as balanced as it ever has been. We've got a great mix of righty-lefty switch, got a bunch of guys that are platoon-proof and have proven themselves major league ready. So Luis Matos stays at the top of the lineup, at least to start this year. You can see he's kind of off to a rough start, but we did give him an extension. He's been a Gold Glove caliber outfielder, hitting very consistently at the top of our lineup, gives us some speed and some high-level contact skills But certainly someone with the additions we brought in, we can slide down the lineup if we need to make changes. Ellie De La Cruz, a big trade or a big free agency acquisition this past year, gives us some pop out of that shortstop position now. Moving on from Luciano, an elite defender and speed at the top of the lineup, something we really haven't had. And then Stephen Kwan here, of course, kind of our MVP of our team last year and the year before. High contact, high OBP guy, Gold Glover, all around baseball player. You got Eloy here, who was our trade deadline acquisition, slides in perfectly to the DH spot. He already has 5 homers and 13 RBIs on this short season already. Royce Lewis steps in for Matt Chapman there at third, as the plan was. Vinny Pasquantino, our trade at the free agency this past year, to replace Mountcastle there at first base because we had lost out on Josh Naylor in free agency, which allowed us to pivot and grab Vinny from the Angels. You got Wyatt Langford now slidden down to the 7 spot, considering he was hitting cleanup for us 2 years ago, which is pretty remarkable. But he has great numbers. Then you get Brooks Lee getting a chance to be an everyday player at second, and then Patrick Bailey still back there behind the plate, providing Gold Glove caliber defense, and has been hitting pretty well over the past few years. So like I said, very deep lineup, very platoon proof. We have the power now to back the OBP mindset that this team has been built on. We should score a lot of runs this year and by hopefully win a lot of games. So Michael Bush here, a great sub to hit against righties, can play anywhere in the infield. Vaughn Brown had a great year off the bench as an outfield replacement. Casey Schmidt, more of a defensive infielder replacement there. And then Logan Porter now doing the backup catching with Blake Sable traded out. In the minors, Von Burke, Grant McCrae, Richard Jew, Christian Vaquero, Lloyd German. We've got a deep lineup here in AAA as well with a bunch of guys we're trying to grow and have good offensive seasons in AA. Pedro Salas, Cam Rubio are kind of the two down here that would be the most obvious prospects. Humberto Sierra, John Hamill also aren't horrible in their own right. And then Julio Rosa and Jesse Kesley, kind of two projects down here that are just getting a chance to be on the roster there in AA and see what they can turn into. So this team should be on autopilot for the most part, barring any crazy injuries, barring any crazy trades and things like that. We should be able to just roll right through this regular season. All right, welcome back. We're at the draft. As we promised, we would go through all of this pretty quickly today. And we're going to take a catcher in Michael Son with our first overall pick here in the 2029 draft, grabbing a catcher with some pretty solid potential there. He is 21, but we are in a championship window right now, so the faster we can get players up to the majors that may not have the highest ceiling might be better for us in kind of helping us stay competitive and allowing us to put our money out there in free agency. Takes us to our second round, and I did like this outfielder. We may as well take him. Joaquin Benitez can play any of the outfield positions. Switch hitter, 20 years old here as well. Looks to be pretty well balanced across the board. He'll fit in nicely into our team and into our prospect system. Cyrus Charles looks to be like a strong starting pitching prospect. Got a couple of guys here to pick from, a couple of unranked guys. Liked kind of both of these first ones. Let's see what they're asking for, some of their stats. Only 3 pitches. I usually hate that out of starting pitchers. 4 pitchers here for Charles. Charles or Sixto. Who do we like more? They both seem solid. I'm going to take a chance and hope that Charles falls since he's unranked and go with Sixto here as a starting pitcher. He did not. Unfortunate for us. So we will pivot. Looks like we'll grab one of those outfielders more than likely. Yeah, may as well. Grover Oliver can join the system. And then here we'll probably just take some guy in a decent overall, a shortstop, Tom Young, can be the last pick of the draft. So that concludes the draft for the Giants. We are sitting right now with a record of 51-39, top of the division at the All-Star break. Looks like we got some decent growth out of our younger players as some of our stats shot up the board, and we actually have a home run derby participant. It's in Arizona, and Arizona has the 2 top leaders in the home runs. How about that? So let's jump in and try and win it with Eloy. All right, here we are with Eloy. You see the leaderboard. Brandon Lau advanced over Pete for Arizona, the hometown guy, or at least the hometown player on this team. Battle of the shortstops. Bo won that one, and we need 19 to take down Austin Shelton. Quite the task here for Eloy, but if there's someone capable, it's got to be this big, bad man who helped carry us to a World Series championship last year, as we are out in front of that one, off to a rough start here in Arizona, but we get that one to go. The first one's off the back. We have a deep center field here. I forget about that in Arizona. Don't get the opposite field one to go as we keep getting pitched away. Finally, one in we can pull. We're definitely going to need that bonus, I would think, if we're going to beat Austin Shelton, which means we need 2 to go for 40 plus. That one to center didn't get quite enough length on it. That one's got to get out of here. Still no. Still can't get them out over that yellow line there in center field. Only 4 so far at the 2.5-minute mark. Going to make the challenge pretty hard for us. We're going to have to get hot here. And like I said, we need at least 2 to go 440 to get a chance, as we've hit a couple in the 430 range. That one didn't find a way out. Starting to get low here in the stamina. If I can get one more, it'd be helpful. All right, let's take our time out there. Need 10 more with about 90 seconds. It's not impossible. But we're going to need to get a little bit lucky here with some of the pitches that we're getting from this guy. We've hit a couple in the 430 range, but can't get any to go in the 440, which might be our downfall here. So we get jammed there. A couple of these just missing. Should be up there around 12, I would think, at least in our home run total. Couple of those to center, just not having enough behind them. Hitting into the deepest part of the field. Yeah, looks like we're going to lose out on the home run derby this year, but that's okay. It's cool for San Francisco to have a guy represent in the home run derby, as we haven't been a power hitting team for quite some time. And Eloy's a big reason for that success that we have here. So sorry, Eloy, but we're more concerned with other trophies. All right, so we're back after the home run derby. We're here trying to sign some of our prospects who we just drafted, get them in a Giants uniform, and get to the trade deadline. We actually might be able to get straight through this entire season this year with a lot of what we have cooking for us in San Francisco. We'll actually take a quick look at the All-Stars while we're here and see who's representing the teams across the league. So Corbin Burns getting an All-Star nod. Once again, continuing to have a strong year for us out of the starting pitching role. And Camilo Duvall looks to be having a rough year from a closing standpoint, but may have just gotten lit up in 1 or 2 games there. It's what it looks like. Still's got 19 saves on the year. It's another strong year so far from Duvall. Take a quick look across this league here and see if we've got any positional guys starting. It didn't look like it on the quick glance. Okay, Eloy out there in left. Stephen Kwan makes the list again. He's probably having his worst offensive year in terms of average, funny enough. Jung-Hoo Lee's went to the Padres, so it explains why they've been doing so well. 3 years, 5.5. That's a great contract value for what he brings to that team. And Matos, so our whole outfield made the All-Star group this year, which is pretty cool to see, as that is a strength for us, certainly. So we try to sign all these picks quick and get this part of the managerial responsibilities taken care of. Sixto looks to be injured, so we may have swung and missed there on him instead of going with our unranked guy. Looks like we'll need a couple more days to sign those last players for us. We'll get back to it here. Come on, Tom Young. You were the last pick in the draft. Wouldn't you just be happy to be drafted and sign with somebody with a signing bonus? Gotta be difficult. Cam Rubio goes down for AA. I think he's the DH in there, so they can just autofill that. All right, Tom. Last, maybe not the last. Keep going here. Okay, backup catcher Logan Porter goes down for a couple months there, so that is semi-significant. As the Braves and Cubs, I believe that was, made a minor trade there for some relievers. Sorry, I just got put on autopilot there. Tom Young really doesn't want to be a Giant. Oh, this is hilarious. What was I doing? Rosters, yes. Catchers. He'll be back for the playoffs. I don't think we really need anybody to step in necessarily, but we need a backup catcher at the major league level. I don't know if he's on the 40-man. No. Let's just add Chandler to the 40-man. We can move you up. Finally getting the chance at the major league level. Congratulations to you, sir. We'll move you up to AAA, and we'll move you up to AA, and we'll have to go through these lineups real quickly. But it'll allow us to kind of take a look at our team here in a minute once we get AAA and AA taken care of, and kind of see what positions we could upgrade on, what positions need an upgrade for the trade deadline as we take a peek at that. We can just get, actually, let's not get in Rosa. He can't really hit that well yet. I think he's quite ready. Not to say Stefan's any better, but AA, AAA. Okay, let's take a look at our team and see how we're doing. So Matos is continuing to thrive in that leadoff spot. Ellie De La Cruz, kind of in line with what a lot of his offensive numbers are. You'd expect a little bit more paying him $30 million, but surrounded by a bunch of other superstars, it's okay. Steven Kwan's right in line. Eloy's doing his thing. Royce Lewis. Vinny Pasquantino has been a great pickup for us, even though his numbers are trending the wrong direction. But he's still more than capable of hitting at a high level. Langford's on the rise. Brooks Lee has been dominating left-handed pitching, at least from a power perspective, it looks like. Great news for us. And then Patrick Bailey here as well. Kind of taking a step back this year, I'd say, offensively. But on this lineup, we don't expect much out of Bailey. Bench looks solid as well. We have a lot of capable players here. And then in AAA, if we need to call anybody up, Von Burke is on his way, you could say. Grant McCrae is decent. Richard Ju here as well. Strong hitter for us. Darian Lopez, okay. The AAA's hitting pretty well for the most part. Some of our guys like Christian Vaquero, not as much, but we definitely have players we can plug in if needed there. Offensively, there's not many holes. I would say for our team, it's really depth at that point if we wanted to get a better bench bat. And starting pitching-wise, I know Burns is on the down. So is Kyle Harrison again. Okay, so I guess that could be an interesting trade. We don't necessarily have to trade him this year. We can hopefully his numbers could get a little bit better and make his value a little bit stronger for us. But in terms of what we're getting out of that fifth spot, we can certainly slide in Fletcher Eldridge, and it would be equivalent to Harrison. But Harrison did pitch well for us in the playoffs last year. We did just give him the contract extension. So I don't necessarily want to go and make a trade. Our bullpen, for the most part, looks pretty solid. I think if we were to add additional reliever, high leverage reliever, wouldn't be a bad thing. Like Mitch Bratt's been pitching well, so has Ferguson and Merced, but would we trust them in a big moment in the playoff simulation? I don't know. I can't say if I would or wouldn't. Would probably prefer, a likes of which Yenny or Cano, who we traded for that 1 year, first time in the playoffs, and that didn't even turn out well for us. So maybe we learn our lesson from that. But let's just get to the trade deadline and see what's here. I forgot we're going to need to go back and sign. Keep going. Tom Young, as he continues to not want to sign with us. There he is. Okay, we get all our draft picks signed. Let's get to the trade deadline here. See where our team sits, see what's available. Lloyd German goes down for a couple of months in AAA. Keep simulating there. All our draft picks are signed. All right, so we are going to be here at the trade deadline with a record of 61-46, tied with the Dodgers, actually, for first in the division and wild card. Yeah, we're a playoff team. We're going to be in the playoffs this year for sure. Let's take a quick look at what's on the block. So a couple big-name catchers to headline this group. A couple of infielders and outfielders. A bunch of younger players, it looks like. Pages wouldn't be a bad depth bat for us in the outfield. A couple of years of control, but the Dodgers aren't going to trade with us. So that one doesn't make sense. We can rule that one out. Trying to see who else might be available. Brian Reynolds would be a great veteran add to this team. I know he's not the best defensively, but a great bat for us. I know he's an everyday guy, but he's 34. So he's probably in the mood to go get a ring somewhere. Dominic Smith, pretty versatile player, left-handed bat, very similar to Michael Busch. So I don't know if we'd really need him on this roster. Mark Vientos, okay. Another versatile right-handed bat we could go after. Esteury Ruiz. He's more of a speed guy to pinch run in there. Let's see what else is available here in terms of pitching. Doesn't look like a lot necessarily. Just ready to go. Aaron Bummer here for the Red Sox. Could go bring him back. Mason Thompson here. Looks like he's pitching really well for the Nationals. Okay, that's an interesting ad. Not a lot of strikeouts, but definitely a capable bullpen arm and one it cost a lot to go get. All right, so there's nothing really jumping off the page there in terms of trades. So we're going to have to go through the team's calendars and try and find a fit to upgrade the bullpen. We'll be right back. All right, we actually aren't going to make any trades this year, mainly because if we do, we have to trade somebody away who's making a considerable amount of money due to our budget and kind of our overspend there in free agency by the looks of things. And the only one that realistically makes sense to part ways from on our team is Kyle Harrison, to make that budget work if we were to go out there and get somebody a high leverage arm that's making a considerable amount of money. However, while it in some ways would make sense to get rid of Kyle Harrison for that, he's been a key part of this team. He's been around since we started, had a great postseason for us, and I would just love to give this team a chance at the repeat the way it is without losing a key member of that team. You might call me nostalgic, or that might be the wrong decision there as a GM, but I do like this team. I like the position we're in. I don't think there's any real trades we need. We have good depth all around. I think this team is capable of winning another World Series. I think our pitching might be a little bit weaker. We might have to piece it together, but our lineup for sure is way more of a strength than it was last offseason. And so I like this team. I'd like to give the younger guys the chance to keep playing in the bullpen there and pitching-wise and just ride this offense to another championship. So we aren't going to make any trades. Kyle Harrison, you'll get to finish this year as a Giant, and we can continue the rest of this simulation. Like I said, we should be pretty automatic on the rest of this way here as Wissenhunt's back. Let's see. I know his numbers weren't the best on the year with a 4.22. And if we're preparing Harrison for the relieving role, probably with Fletcher in the bullpen, let's get Eldridge here a couple more starts and see what his numbers end up becoming on the rest of the year. So we simulate towards the September call-ups as Langford went down. We can just place him on the bench and automatically get him back in there. Key part of this lineup. But Von Brown, like I said, has been a great bench bat. Big series here, I didn't even realize, versus the Dodgers and Diamondbacks all in a row here. So let's get Corbin Burns back in the rotation. He's been dominant for us, even though he's trending downwards at an alarming rate, but still putting up great numbers for this ball club, which is what we pay him for. And he did deliver us that one World Series last year, so all things considered, the contract was worth it, in my opinion. So we get closer to September here. A couple of injuries there in the minors going on. And here we are in September. Let me go through the roster, call-ups, and lineup changes. And we'll be back. All right, so we're back. Lineups and everything's all taken care of. The call-ups are all taken care of. A couple minor leaguers coming back from injury. Just going to put that on autopilot at this point, as all the focus is on the major league level, as we are running into a bit of a losing streak here. Yikes. Okay, that was like 9 or 10 in a row dating back to August. Don't love to see that. Let's look at a stop here in the sim. Perfect timing. Logan Porter's back. Yeah, we have dropped all the way out of the divisional lead in a wild card spot. After that tough little run of things, looks like the offense has gone cold. And some of the pitching isn't working out. We can send down Siegel back down to AAA. Beltran can just get sent down to single A. Don't take care of all of that nonsense. Take a quick look here. Yeah, looks like Ellie maybe could get moved around. But this is the team that's gotten us here so far. They've been playing well. Big series here versus San Diego here, as we got to hone in as Siegel tears his ACL right after getting sent down, and we drop 2 versus San Diego there. Still in a wild card spot, but I don't like the way this team is playing entering the postseason there. Looks like AAA and AA missed out on the postseason. So we continue simming here, trying to get back to the postseason. Uh-oh. All right, not entirely sure what's going on right now. We are in a funk of all funks. Still hold a wild card spot, but it is tight now between the Diamondbacks, the Pirates, the last series. If we win, we're in. Split the first 2. We haven't clinched another win, and we're in situation, and we do. All right, so the Giants looking a little scary after the trade deadline. Had a decent month of August there, but a horrendous month in September, which forces us down to a wild card spot, unfortunately. See where kind of the standings all shook up. Yeah, we hold on to that playoff spot by 1 game over the Nationals. Definitely not the way you want to enter the postseason. We lose out on divisional championship there, but that's okay. Take a quick look at how some of these players are matching up across the league here. Looks like the Rockies actually had a batting champ, which is cool to see. The Austin Hayes trade to Pittsburgh didn't turn out for them. That happened earlier in the year. Ellie De La Cruz towards the top. Eloy just missing out on the home runs total. Sandwiched between Lau and Devers for Arizona. Does lead the league in RBIs, though, which is cool to see. Okay, walks, yada, yada, yada. Let's get to some of the pitching stats. Looks like some Phillies had some good years. A couple of different names getting on this list, which is always cool to see as well. As we get deeper into this franchise mode, the Pirates with some strikeout duos there in Skeens and Harden. It's cool to see. Okay, nothing crazy. JP Crawford continues to rake there in the Dodgers uniform. So this is where we'll end the video for today. We'll just take a quick look at some of the stats and how everything shaped up for this team this year. Before we get into that, we'll do a quick season recap here. Why not? So Eloy Jimenez, incredible year once again. 45 homers, 127 RBIs, 876 OPS out of the DH role. Had a great year for us. Steven Kwan, probably his worst year offensively, but still a very solid year. Brooks Lee, in his first full-time year, his numbers fall right in the line of where he was, so that's cool to see. Ellie De La Cruz, first year with San Francisco. Kind of what we expected out of him. We'll see how it translates to the postseason. Royce Lewis, all in line. Langford continuing to grow and get better. Had a high OBP this year. Patrick Bailey took a step back offensively, but it's okay with this lineup. We don't expect much out of him. Vaughn Brown, Michael Busch, Logan Porter, all contributing well off the bench. And Casey Schmidt, more of your defensive sub there. So that's the pitching hitting. Don't know why I got out of that. Wanted to go to the pitching and see what our starters did. So Logan Webb, the ace on this team, followed up closely behind with George Kirby. Both had great years. Corbin Burns starting to get long in the tooth, but still a really strong year from him. Wisson got his numbers back a little bit under control there on the year. Eldridge continued trying to find his way along with Fletcher. Merced, okay. Duvall with 39 saves on the year. Ferguson had a strong year. Mitch Bratt pitched well. Kerchak did well as a setup man once again. Gregory Soto, limited innings there. Okay. So we're matching up against the Braves. We may as well leave it. The final thing we'll do is take a quick peek at what we've got going up against in Atlanta. So Gray Rod, their big acquisition of last year's free agency, is their true ace on their team. A couple of strong starting pitchers there for Atlanta. Nothing that crazy in the bullpen. They definitely have some serviceable pieces in here, but really it's that starting pitching leaned on my Gray Rod that's going to be carrying them. And as far as their lineup goes, it should be pretty deep. Michael Harris leading things off. Jonathan India, Gunnar Henderson, a strong shortstop acquisition for them a year or two ago. Austin Riley, DePaula, Jesus. Looks like they have a lefty lane or a couple guys that don't hit too well versus lefties in this lineup. Josh Bell, former Giant here, looking to probably wreak havoc against his old team. And then a couple of guys on the bench. Okay, so nothing overwhelming, I would say. They've got a decent lineup, a couple of star players there, but it is a wild card series. So first to 2 wins is a lot harder than 3 or 4 when you're facing teams that you might be better than. So let me know how we should tee up our pitching, who should be in the bullpen, who should be our guaranteed starters. I think Webb, Kirby, and Burns have those 3 spots on lock. It's really that 4th starter that we're going to be searching for. So who kind of deserves that 4th spot out of the guys we have available? If we should do anything different with the lineups come this postseason. This time around, looks like Matos didn't even make the roster for some reason. Let's take a quick look at his stats. Did he do poorly down the stretch? Yeah, they sent him down to the minors. He hit, right in line of what he's been doing. Weird move by the game there to do that, but it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So So we will see you in the next video as the Giants look to defend their title in the 2029 postseason.